You're watching London Weekend Television. Now today's international news from ITN with John Suchet. The time, 10:20.
Police marksman suspended after 5-year-old boy shot dead. The Manchester plane crash, now the relatives talk of their grief. Black South Africans will march despite more arrests. A prince gets a taste of life below stairs. Good evening. A 5-year-old boy was today shot dead by a police marksman during a raid on his home in Birmingham. Tonight, West Midlands Police announced a full independent inquiry and suspended one of their officers. The boy, John Shorthouse, was in bed when police burst into a flat at King's Norton to arrest his father. Police say the boy's death was a tragic accident and that the gun went off as the officer rested it on the bed during a search. The Chief Constable, Mr. Geoffrey Deere, expressed his deepest regret and sincere sympathy. The raid followed a robbery on Thursday at the Old Moat restaurant in South Wales.
The three men were arrested after simultaneous dawn raids and are being held at Kings Heath Police Station, not far from the house where 5-year-old John Shorthouse was shot. The tactical firearms unit with a warrant forced their way in, arrested a man and recovered a weapon. Police say the boy was asleep on a bed, completely covered in blankets.
An officer from the tactical firearms unit was searching both for people and for property in connection with the raid, and it would seem that there was an accidental discharge of the weapon. And to find out exactly what happened, there is in fact an independent inquiry going to take place. A senior police officer from another force has been appointed to investigate the whole circumstances of the incident. But as I say, it does seem that this may well have been a tragic accident.
The injured boy was carried to a police car bleeding from a chest wound, but was dead by the time he reached hospital. His mother and 2 younger brothers are staying with relatives. Neighbours confirmed the boy's habit of sleeping hiding under the blankets.
Yeah, they did. At the time I had him, because I went in, my baby sat when I went in, his head was under the blankets and I took him off.
The inquiry will be led by the Assistant Chief Constable of Lancashire. The officer who fired the gun has been suspended on full pay until the results of that inquiry. Anne Lucas, ITN, Birmingham.
The West Midlands Police have had tragic accidents before. 5 years ago, 16-year-old Gail Kinchin was shot dead by armed detectives as she was held by her boyfriend as a shield. He was convicted of her manslaughter. The 2 policemen were cleared by the courts. A series of armed raids by the same force 2 years ago on innocent people, including old-age pensioners, led to an inquiry. The Chief Constable said his men were not cowboys, but acted on reasonable suspicion.
That reasonable suspicion, except in one case, existed. In that one case, the reasonable suspicion existed in respect of another house, not the one which mistakenly we went into, and that's the one that we are very openly admitting we made a mistake over.
2 years ago, Stephen Waldorf was peppered by 14 bullets fired by London's Met Police after being mistaken for the gunman David Martin. The out-of-court settlement ran to 6 figures. The police never suggested they weren't at fault and doubled the length of their training procedures. Police marksmen are told to remember 4 key points. Don't use more than reasonable force, fire only as a last resort, shout a warning if possible, and remember it's your decision. You may have to justify it later in court. Detective Constable John Fordham was killed in January this year while on duty in Kent, one of several policemen killed in recent years. Only 1 in 10 police officers is trained in firearms. The last time the Met Police, in whose area 80% of firearms incidents occur, shot anyone dead was 7 years ago, and criminals fire at police 10 times as many bullets as the police fire back.
The Prince and Princess of Wales have sent a special get well message to the survivors of the Manchester air disaster who are still in hospital. A memorial service for those who died is to be held at Manchester Cathedral at the request of some of the families. Today they've been talking about their grief.
A late booking gave Paul Forrester and Amanda Reddin the last 2 available seats on flight KT328. It was 19-year-old Paul's first time on a plane.
It was just like 2 little happy kids together. They thought the world of one another, didn't they?
Did they plan to marry soon?
No, well, we didn't know.
They were going to have this holiday and then they were going to start saving again.
After the holidays.
Paul's fiancée lived only a few streets away from the Forrester home. She celebrated her 21st birthday only a few weeks ago. Today, her mother praised the actions of the plane's pilot, but said airlines should be even more vigilant over safety.
They really ought to realise they're taking precious people in their hands when they take them up in these aircrafts, not just bodies.
Abroad now, South Africa's biggest anti-apartheid group, the United Democratic Front, says the arrest of 27 of its leaders will not stop its march next Wednesday to the prison where Nelson Mandela is held. The Law and Order Minister, Mr. Louis Lecranje, said tonight no illegal gathering would be allowed and the police will take stern action. In Durban, funerals were held for recent riot victims, including a murdered UDF organizer.
No banners, no freedom songs, no political speeches. Security legislation now dictates how the people are allowed to bury their dead, and the graveside service for the UDF organizer Nunu Keshwa had none of the trappings that had marked the large political funerals that had become such a feature of life in South Africa's townships. The UDF, the United Democratic Front, has now become the focal point for resistance to the government. A militant umbrella organization representing more than 600 political and community groups. Its patron, Dr. Alan Bussack, one of the most consistently outspoken critics of the Botha government. Today, he's one of the few UDF organizers in Cape Town to escape last night's security police arrests. An attempt, says Dr. Bussack, to crush next Wednesday's Free Mandela demonstration.
I think they're trying to do two things. They're trying to smash, let me say, the UDF, who is at the core of the organization for the march, and they're trying to instill fear in the hearts of people not to participate in that march. As far as I'm concerned, the march is still on. We will meet today as planned and we will discuss the pros and the cons. The march is meant to be a peaceful, non-violent demonstration.
Dr. Bussack will have no illusions about how the march will end on Wednesday. Riot units will move in before the marchers get anywhere near the prison. But last night's crackdown on the UDF by the security police will once again focus world attention on South Africa. And that was Dr. Bussack's main objective in calling the march in the first place. Peter Sharp, ITN, in Cape Town.
And a Norwegian TV show starring Cliff Richard and Shirley Bassey was blacked out tonight because the two singers have appeared in South Africa and wouldn't promise not to go back. They ran into anti-apartheid demonstrators as soon as they arrived in Norway for tonight's peak time concert in aid of the Red Cross. The state-run television network later cancelled the broadcast after two trade unions refused to handle the programme. Both singers have been blacklisted by the United Nations for visiting South Africa. The launch of the latest Discovery space shuttle was aborted just 9 minutes before blastoff at Cape Canaveral today because of a thunderstorm. The 5 astronauts had been in the craft for 2 hours when storm clouds unexpectedly moved over the area. The shuttle had only 34 minutes during which it could be launched, and the weather did not clear in time.
This is Shuttle Launch Control. The weather is too dynamic to call, and we will not be able to pick up the countdown. We will go through a recycle and try again tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow's mission is aimed at salvaging a satellite that failed to go into orbit 4 months ago. This time, the crew will try to jump-start it and send it back into its orbit. Sport, it's been another rainy day for cricket, but in soccer, they're queuing up to lift Everton's First Division crown. Here's Jeremy Thompson.
Manchester United have given an early warning that this season they're ready to make a real bid for the championship, the title they haven't won since 1967. Goals from Mark Hughes and Paul McGrath gave them a 2-1 win at Arsenal, even though they were helped on their way by a Charlie Nicholas penalty miss early in the second half. Tonight, United are at the top of the table with 3 wins out of 3. Sheffield Wednesday moved second after a 3-1 win at Manchester City. Watford hit 5 against West Brom. Colin West, their new signing from Sunderland, got 3 of them. And Billy Hamilton got 2 as Oxford celebrated their first win in Division 1, beating Leicester 5-0. In Scotland, Rangers stay top of the Premier League after beating Hearts 3-1, but Ali McCoist was one of 3 sent off after a brawl. 8 others were booked. Once again, the weather did its best to disrupt the run into the County Cricket Championship. There was no play at Swansea or Old Trafford, and all the title contenders lost valuable playing time. In the vital match at Bournemouth, it was the usual sorry story of soggy sponges and frustrated cricketers. When play finally started at 3 o'clock, Championship hopefuls Hampshire did the leaders Gloucestershire no favours by putting them into bat on a sticky wicket against the menace of Malcolm Marshall. Though it was Steve Andrew who justified the home captain's decision, bowling right for a duck. But almost inevitably, the lethal Marshall matched that, trapping Stobbold leg before, and Gloucestershire was 6 for 2 after 13 overs. They'd struggled through to 37 at barely a run and over when Tremlett had Athy caught by Terry for 18. Gloucestershire ended the day on 89 for 5, but as he challenges for the title, their captain David Graveney was just as worried by his side's poor over rate this season, which could cost them a £4,000 fine.
I now find myself in a situation where every ball and every over is important, so I must bowl the people who are most likely to win the games for us. It is a worry, there's no doubt about that.
But if you won the championship, you might better put up with that sort of fine.
But it's a situation that we have to win the championship to pay for the fine, which is a slightly unfortunate position to be in.
Though Gloucestershire will be hoping for better performances than today's if they're to win their first title in 108 years.
Finally, Prince Edward is getting a taste of how the other half lives. He's playing a rustic servant in The Taming of the Shrew.
Prince Edward decided to make his first public Shakespearean appearance with the Haddo Players because he had the time, Biondello was a nice part, and Lady Aberdeen, governor of his old school Gordonston, asked him. The part of the naughty, rustic comic servant with 96 lines may not be the most important in The Taming of the Shrew, but Prince Edward's appearance has ensured the best ticket sales for 40 years. And in his double act with Richard Baker, he shows his love for comedy and his enjoyment in making people laugh.
Oh, my old worshipful, old master. Why, yes, Mary, see, there he looks out of the window. English, so indeed. Help!
Alan Cowie for ITN with the Haddo Players.
We'll be appearing again tomorrow. Good night.